Marlins Park in Miami, Florida. The New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Hyundai. Get a great deal more than a great deal on all new Hyundai vehicles. See your Hyundai dealer today. The State Farm agent of the game, Hector Camillo of the Bronx. Contact Hector at hectorcamillo.com. And by Toyota. Save on the Toyota Camry, Corolla, RAV4, and Highlander this Independence Day. It's a placid start to July in downtown Miami. You see how flat that water was? Lots of entertainment in this neck of the woods. A lot of it having to do with the beach. Don't let the water ruin the camera. Keith already broke one a couple of years ago. Have a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Miami. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets wrap up their series with the Marlins. The good news for the Mets today is they get to rip that offensive June calendar page right off the calendar and turn the page to a brand new month.
Well, we thought July would never get here, but it's here, gratefully. It was just an awful month of the season for these Mets, obviously. And the only positive thing to look to now is it is a new month for what that's worth, and look ahead and hopefully get all those L's out the door, in the rearview mirror, gone. We need some Met wins.
And it starts with Steven Matz today. The last two times that Matz has come down here to South Florida, he has not given up a run.
Well, I tell you what, he's 2-0 on the road here at this ballpark with a sparkling ERA below 1. Also, his last 7 starts, Gary, he's really pitched well. You take away that Colorado outing, and he's really pitched wonderfully, going deep in ball games. I think he's turned a corner here. He needs to go deep in this game and get a Met win.
Dan Straley was suspended for 5 games for intentionally hitting Buster Posey with a pitch, but he's off suspension today.
Well, he won 14 games two years ago for the Reds. Came over here last year, went 10-9, not having a very good year this year. He has also been struggling mightily. His last 7 starts, he's 1-3 with an ERA well over 5.
But his only start against the Mets this year, he was good, and the Marlins will go for the sweep of the series this afternoon. Mets try and get a brand new month off to a fresh start. Mets and Marlins, all the action on SNY. And by Taiwan Tourism, it's time for Taiwan. Search gototaiwan.net. It's a great look at the old ballpark in Miami. The Mets and Marvel Entertainment present the Noah Syndergaard as Thor t-shirt giveaway to all fans in attendance on Friday, July 6th, when the Mets play the Rays, courtesy of your local Ford dealers. This exclusive one-of-a-kind t-shirt was designed by well-known Marvel artist Joe Q and is only available to fans in attendance July 6th. For tickets, go to Mets.com/tickets. Feeling so mellow with this music. Time for T-Mobile's Hats Off for Heroes. Jack McKeon, who won a World Series as manager of the Marlins in 2003, also a member of the United States Air Force and played for the baseball team at Sampson Air Force Base in upstate Geneva, New York. Sunny Sunday in Miami. First pitch coming right up. And that young man enjoying his moment with Starlin Castro.
I can just imagine myself at that age standing at first base next to Willie McCovey.
Mets starting lineup brought to you by Geico. Kevin Plawecki gets his first start since Tuesday night against Pittsburgh. Still no Dominic Smith. Is it a wrist injury? Is it not a wrist injury? Player and manager seem to disagree on that. In any event, he's still not playing, although Mickey Callaway says he should be in the lineup in Toronto. Nimmo's been going through a slump. Dan Straley's first pitch of the day is in for a call strike, and we're underway.
Well, there are Straley's Toyota numbers, and they aren't very pretty. He's had a tough run of it, averaging 4.30 walks per 9 innings, as well as 8.25 hits per 9. A lot of base runners.
Nimmo 1 for 8 in this series, 1 for 14 since coming back from getting hit on the hand. He's fallen to 7th in the league in on-base percentage, 4th in slugging. And coming off a month that was full of strikeouts, Nimmo struck out 39 times in the month of June, which ties the third highest total for any month in Mets history. Dave Kingman has the dubious record with 41. Yoenis Cespedes had a 40 strikeout month in April this year, and then Nimmo with 39.
Well, I just looked on the stats this morning before the game. 211 at bats. Brandon has 71 strikeouts. That's an awful lot.
Well, we know he runs a lot of deep counts. That leads to a lot of walks, but also to a lot of strikeouts. Bautista and Cabrera to follow, and Nimmo lays off the up and away fastball, and he runs a full count. Straley facing the Mets for the second time this year. He hooked up with Jacob deGrom in May in New York. He pitched very well, 6 innings, 1 run, got a no decision that day, a game the Marlins rallied to win. And Nimmo pops one up in the middle of the infield. And the shortstop Rojas takes charge of it for the first out of the day.
And we'll segue right into that Jeep Marlin infield. Rivera getting another start at third base. Rojas at shortstop can play all middle positions, corner positions as well. In the outfield, of course, we got Maben getting his first start, the veteran out in left field. Brinson was the big star in that first game of this series.
Now Jose Bautista, who homered yesterday in the first inning against Pablo Lopez, who only gave up 2 runs in 6 innings in his big league debut, both on solo home runs to Bautista and Frazier. Bautista now with 5 homers for the year, 3 as a Met, and he swings over the slider by Straley, and it's 0-2.
And Bautista has been an on-base machine for the Mets since joining this club.
.438 on base percentage with the Mets, but he strikes out of the slider by Straley, and he's got his first strikeout of the day. 2 up and 2 down. And that's big for Straley, who's been struggling early in games lately.
Well, he went chasing there. You can see that ball started on the outside corner and broke 4 inches, 5, 6 inches away. Not a bat long enough to catch it.
Too many inches. Here's Cabrera, 1 for 9 in this series, and Asdrubal takes low for ball 1. Mentioned Straley in first innings. He's given up runs in the first inning in each of his last 4 starts. In fact, his ERA in the first 2 innings is over 7. So he's been vulnerable early in games. Fastball for a strike to Cabrera, 1-1. And you see he gets better as the game gets longer. Last start he pitched into the 7th against Arizona, gave up 3 runs in 6 1/3 and a victory. Michael Conforto hitting cleanup. One-two coming to Cabrera. And he hits the top of the strike zone with a changeup. He gets it looking, and Straley has back-to-back strikeouts to finish off the first inning. Mets go 1-2-3. Steven Matz goes to the mound when we come back. And again.
I thought it was Bruce Lee behind home plate.
The two-stage third strike call.
Jeez. Enter the dragon.
No complaint from Cabrera other than dropping his stuff at home plate. Steven Matz on the mound for the Mets today. Starlin Castro moves up to the leadoff spot against the left-hander. He's had a good series, 5 hits and 8 at-bats. And he takes a half cut at a fastball, and it's a strike for Matz. Castro now with 92 hits for the year, 6th in the National League.
Castro's base. Oh, there's Matz's numbers first, his Land Rover numbers, of course. And like I said, he's pitched well now. The last 7 starts, he's turned a corner. Just a little bit of tough luck in Colorado. And I thought in Colorado, Gary, they got him that first 2 innings. First time kind of pitching there. Gets a little shaky, but I thought he righted the ship, and I thought he deserved to stay in that game longer.
And then his last start against the Pirates, he worked 7 innings, only the 2nd time this year he's gone that deep.
Oh,
Cabrera knocks it down with his chest, recovers, but throws it away, and Castro will stick at first base. And that'll be an error charge to Cabrera.
Bullets at Cabrera. Went down on a knee to get his body down in front. Look at the ball come up.
Right in the sternum.
Nothing you can do there.
It's another bruise for Asdrubal.
Let's hope that's not a portent of the month of July.
Here's Brian Anderson, who delivered a crushing blow yesterday against Jacob deGrom. 2-0 game. 6th inning, Anderson hit a 2-run homer to tie it, and it all fell apart from there for the Mets. Anderson having an impressive rookie year, 5th in the National League in base hits with 94, 7th in the league in doubles with 21. And he has been the Marlins' best hitter against lefties this year, hitting .290 against left-handed pitching, as Matz comes inside with a slider, and it's 1-1. Steven in that last start against the Pirates gave up 3 runs over 7 innings, wound up being a no decision game for him. But if you go back the last 7 starts, he's got a 3.05 ERA. He has been better at dousing rallies. He's been working a little quicker. And like all the Met pitchers, he has been pitching inside.
Well,
like that.
That has always been a strength of Steven, even when since he came up. Almost pounds inside, I think, too much. I mean, he's got to find that range, that outside corner, sneak that fastball in on those right-hand hitters, because he establishes in. He's so powerful inside. Did you get a nice nap in, Gary, before the game?
Not enough, Keith. Not enough.
Yeah, but you're good to go. You don't need much. I've watched you operate.
I think you're confusing me with Ronnie. Ronnie's the guy who doesn't sleep. It's like Night of the Living Dead, wandering through the countryside. There's your Ford leaderboard. Anderson in the top 5 in the National League in base hits.
When we were in Cincinnati, Gary, wasn't Scooter Gennett hitting like around 230, 220 back then? I mean, he's caught fire.
He's leading the league in hitting coming into today. It's an eerie, hollow sound in this ballpark.
It is.
Grounded down to third, might be 2. Frazier to Cabrera, and on to first. Low throw handled by Flores, and the Mets turn the 5-4-3 double play to erase the Cabrera error. So 2 out and nobody on.
Got in on the hands of Anderson. Easy double play. Nice little Papa Doble.
Papa Doble?
That was a cocktail I discovered recently. That's a Hemingway. daiquiri.
But it has nothing to do with baseball.
Well, other than Doblade's a double.
Right.
Which means it's a clear rum daiquiri that Hemingway loved to drink down in Havana in the day. And he drank a lot of them. Prodigious drinker, Hemingway, and he would have doubles. So the Islanders in Havana changed, they called it the Hemingway, and then it was a Papadoble.
It's sharply through the hole, and Real Muto's got a 2-out hit. So another hit on an 0-2 pitch. Mets have seen far too many of those lately. Here's the Hyundai starting lineup for the Marlins. A little different against the lefty. Cameron Maybin slots into the cleanup spot with Castro moving up to the top. Justin Bour, the only lefty in the lineup today against Matz. Maybin hitting cleanup for the 5th time this year. He had never hit cleanup before this season. And the veteran takes a strike. Maybin has spent last year in Anaheim and Houston. 183 at bats this year. No home runs for Maybin, who hit 10 of them last year. And Matz runs the fastball inside 1-1.
That is quite the helmet home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom has on. Boy, his head is encased.
Good. All for safety. Good change up by Matz after selling the previous one. There's your umpiring crew. We've already introduced you to the stylings of Cederstrom. Blazer, Sherwater, Cooper on the bases.
That has to be light too, because you can imagine having to hold that up all day. Give you a stiff neck.
2-2 coming, and he gets in on Maybin's hands, and he pops one up. Frazier tracking it, and that retires the side. After 1 in Miami, Mets and Marlins, no score. Leads off against Dan Strelly, who retired the side in order in the first. Conforto 1 for 7 in this series. It'll be Conforto, Flores, and Frazier for the Mets in the second.
Michael struck out twice the last 2 at bats.
last night, and he has not gotten untracked.
Takes a changeup for a strike, and it's 1-1. 3 infielders on the right side, and the third baseman Rivera staying at home against the bunt threat, which is interesting, since Conforto really hasn't attempted to lay one down. And now with 2 strikes, he'll move over, and they'll do the switcheroo. Rivera will go over to the right side. Rojas will come over to the left side.
I'll tell you, if I'm a third baseman and I've got a manager that does this all the time, I'm telling my agent, you got to negotiate more money for me to make all these moves. I get worn out.
Well, what he should do is wear a Fitbit so that he can count his steps over the course of a game, and maybe he can get paid by the step.
That's right.
Two coming. And Strelly bounces a slider, full count. Second full count for Strelly through the first 4 batters. Been walking a lot more this year. 4.3 walks per 9. That's obviously too high. But he strikes out Conforto with a fastball. 3rd consecutive strikeout for Dan Strelly, who's not really a big time strikeout pitcher.
Belt high fastball. Under it. Feel like a broken record.
You might want to explain for our younger viewers exactly what a broken record is, Keith.
Oh, well.
Here's Wilmer Flores, and he launches one out to left field. Back goes Maben onto the warning track to make the catch. Well struck by Wilmer, who's been swinging the bat very well recently.
I thought he hit that ball better. That is 386 out there? I believe it is. That's a long way. That was Old Busch Stadium right there, folks, out there in that gap.
It's a big ballpark, not as big as it used to be. They cut down to the dimensions somewhat last year, but it is still a large expanse out in that Marlins Park outfield.
This is a beautiful park for a line drive hitter.
Here's Todd Frazier, who homered yesterday, his 9th of the year.
But the problem with big parks is there's no margin for error. Garrett, get the ball in the air, it's an OUT.
And Strelly dents the outside corner. 2-1. And that bat makes it all the way into the outfield. That is some serious distance on a thrown bat. I mean, it's hard to throw a bat that far if you're trying.
He just lost both hands at once at the flick of the wrist. That's when he lost his grip. That's why it went out in that outfield.
Well, bat back in his hands. A little bit more stickum to try and keep it in his hands. And a 2-2 pitch from Strelly that misses down on a full count to Frazier. Dan Strelly, 29 years old, born in California, high school in Oregon, college in West Virginia. West Virginia, yeah, he went to Marshall from Oregon.
Thundering Herd.
It's his only Division I opportunity, and he was a walk-on to boot. Frazier pokes one foul, but he had met some guys who went to Marshall during summer ball and decided that that was the place for him, and it worked out for him. He wound up getting drafted by the A's, 24th round pick. I mean, he's always been an underdog kind of guy. But 2 years ago, had a terrific year with the Reds. And he walks Frazier, first base runner of the day for the Mets. And he was okay last year, 10-9, 4.26 for the Marlins. Has struggled a little bit more than that this year. In a Marlins staff that has been strapped for starting pitching, but they've gotten nice performances out of a couple of first-time starters the first 2 games of this series. Sandy Alcantara on Friday night, and then Pablo Lopez, who was very impressive yesterday.
There's Big Don.
And he should get Jose Urena, his opening day starter, back sometime this week. Urena's been down with some shoulder problems, and he should be ready to return. So they may actually have an overabundance of starting pitching once that happens.
Pitchers always fixing their fingernails.
Get a good manicurist.
Bob Forsch, I've mentioned this many times, used to file down his nails, but into 4 days in between starts, and turn out a couple of nails into razor blades, just about scuff up that ball.
That one catches Gary Cederstrom right in the chest protector. Always checking the count, those umpires.
That's their job.
1-1 to Plawecki, making his first start since Tuesday against the Pirates. And he takes a slider on the corner, and it's 1-2. Plawecki hitting at .228 for the year. Frazier at first with 2 out. And Plawecki just able to lay off that slider. 2-2. Another full count. 7th batter for Straley, his 4th full count.
Realmuto, very nice. He's a good catcher, defensive catcher. Nice player, good hitter, all-around player, runs well.
Moore is going to continue to hold Frazier, who's going to be running on the 3-2 pitch.
That's amazing.
See him more and more.
I don't get it.
And Plawecki drives one to the gap in left center field. That's going to go all the way back to the warning track. Frazier around third. He'll be waved in. The relay throw to the plate by Castro is cut off. An RBI double for Kevin Plawecki gives the Mets a 1-0 lead.
Well, one of the faults of Straley has been he always gets ahead and manages to get into stretch the count out to a 3-2 count. It changes the whole complexion of an at-bat. Misses with sliders, has to come with the fastball. 3-2 upstairs, down the middle. Plawecki makes them pay.
And now Rosario is intentionally walked. That is 5 walks now in this series for Rosario, including a couple of intentional passes.
Right down Broadway up. See, I don't need that. I know the Jeep pitch cast, folks, is very excellent. It's very nice, but I can tell.
Well, it's not necessary for your edification, but for the folks at home.
That's right.
They'd like to get a graphic display of exactly where the pitch was.
Exactly. I'm a very trained eye.
Just Stephen Matz, and he fouls off a fastball. Matz 2 for 25 this year, looking for his first run batted in. Well, that's why you're here. You know, if you weren't like a highly trained professional, you'd be off doing something else.
That was a Cluzo line, you know.
Yes, I know.
Peter Sellers.
down to Marim. Plawecki at second, Rosario at first with 2 out, and Matz lines one to the shortstop, and Rojas picks off that soft liner to end the inning. But the Mets break in front on Kevin Plawecki's 2-out RBI double, handing Steven Matz a 1-0 lead in the second. Ted Kluszewski.
Yeah, we ought to take a poll on what the Met fans think about those uniforms.
Well, you know, the Mets had their own sort of turn ahead the clock night 20 years ago with the Mercury Mets thing that they did.
How'd that go?
That lasted one day. Oh, we're doing a tweet. Okay, the tweet of the game.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Toyota. What are your thoughts on the turn ahead the clock uniforms last night? Boris slaps one just foul, and it's 1-2. Justin Bour, the only lefty in the lineup against Matz today, hitting just .204 against lefties, with 1 of his 13 home runs. About a lot of left-handed pitchers is if they're very effective against lefties, they don't see many left-hand batters.
Right.
And Bour bloops one into shallow left. Back goes Frazier to get it, and he's retired 1 out. Have we not looked at the Mets defense? Go.
Lexus Mets defense. Frazier, Rosario, well, Wilmer at first. Plawecki behind the plate. What more can I add to that? Lexus starting outfield. And that's been the way. Remember, they flip-flopped Conforto and Nimmo around 4 or 5 games ago. Nimmo is now going to be the center fielder, and I agree with that.
Here's Brinson taking a strike. So let's get back. I parenthetically noted this when we did the lineups, the fact that Dominic Smith again is not in there against a righty. And Dom told some of the writers that he is a sore wrist and he had a cortisone shot. But Mickey Callaway was asked about it this morning as to whether that's the reason Dom's not playing. He said no, Dom is fully healthy. He's just not in the lineup. So I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting.
But Mickey said that Dom will probably get a start in Toronto because the Mets will have the DH. So that'll open up a spot for him.
So he's sort of wasting away on the bench. We had that conversation yesterday, Garrett. Which to me, at 22 years of age, it should be playing somewhere either up here or in AAA.
Dom has one pinch hit at bat in this series. 2-2 to Brinson, who's 4 for 8 in the first 2 games, a double and a home run on Friday night, as he tries to perk up his first full year in the big leagues, hitting just 188, and Matz runs a full count to him.
Well, he's a guy that has had a real hard time, chases a lot of bad breaking balls. The home run he hit, the 3-hit day on the first night, I believe it was the first night. He had 2 fastballs middle in.
And there's ball 4, and Brinson's on with a walk. First walk given up by Matz. Customize your experience to catch every moment this season. Get New York Mets home screen icons and features such as the MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcasts, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. Here's Miguel Rojas playing shortstop today. Brinson, good speed, but only 1 stolen base this year, and a good changeup by Matz to start off Rojas, 0-1. Of course, Steven has been very vulnerable to the stolen base, but he seems to have gotten better as the year has gone along at controlling the running game. It's been a big focus for Matz and the coaching staff to try and shore up his ability to hold runners. Grounded to third, might be a chance for 2, but it goes right by Frazier and into left field. Brinson will go to third. The throw by Conforto not in time. Second error in the first 2 innings on the Mets infield. Now that should have been an inning-ending double play. Instead, it's first and third and 1 out.
Well, didn't get in front of this ball. That's the reason. Played it off to the side. Plenty of time to get in front of that ball. And no foot movement at all. If you field the ball off to the side, as Todd tried to do right there, which was to his left, then he has to bring his glove all the way back to the right side of his body to throw. If you get in front, it's right in the middle of your body, and it's a quicker release.
So you get your arm back quicker than if you play it off to the sideline.
That's a routine double play. You just, either way you field that, but you always want to get in front, and that's. Brinson showed some outstanding speed going first to third and hustle.
Well, Matz was able to work around the Cabrera error in the first inning by getting a double play ball. Now trying to work around another error, ahead on Rivera 0-2.
So Brinson can fly. He's got a lot of talent, and this team is hustling. I mean, he just didn't assume anything. He's on the run.
That's a short throw for Conforto, so he had to be certain that he could make it, and he did. 1-2 coming, and it's on the inside corner. Rivera caught looking, and a big strikeout from Matz for the second out. So Matz again picks up his teammate.
Yep, I tell you what, that's borderline. That's a pitch that can go either way. So you see that little edge of that ball nipping the black, and I don't really care one way or the other about that. It's just, you've got to know your umpires. That was too close to take. With 2 strikes, and the umpire called it a strike, unless it's egregious, it's too close to take.
So here's Straley with first and third and 2 outs. 7 for 126 in his major league career. That's 056 if you're counting. does have 2 RBIs in those 126 big league at bats, none this year. And Matz throws a fastball for a strike, 1-1. Steven having to do some heavy lifting these first 2 innings to work around his teammates' miscues. What was the Jacob deGrom quote after the game last night? I'm tired of losing.
Yes.
Runner goes from first. No throw by Plawecki, and they'll let Rojas take second. He was going to try to get into a rundown and pull off a delayed double steal. Mets were having none of that.
And once again, I've never seen, which is a trend, that you just, okay, you want to get another runner and set in scoring position? Be my guest. No attempt to throw him out, even though it's a pitcher up. There's such a thing as a broken bat bloop, or I just don't like giving away bases.
But even in that case, Keith, where clearly the intent was not to steal the base, but to get into a rundown and let Brinson steal home.
There's various other plays too. You know, you can throw back to the pitcher as if you're trying to throw. You can have another play where the shortstop comes in and instead of being at the bag, comes in front of the bag.
Right.
You try to set up the runner at third. There's a lot of things you can do, and it's just like all these little nuances, they've disappeared.
Three and 2 to Straley, and he walked him. How about that? So Matz, who did a nice job striking out Rivera for the second out, loses the pitcher to a walk, and he is really upset with himself. And I think it's a great time for Dave Eiland to go out and talk to him. Second walk of the inning for Matz. And in this case, walking an 0.56 lifetime hitter.
It happens.
Time to turn the page and think about Starlin Castro. You got a good hitter coming up with the bases loaded.
When he's a guy that is a quality hitter. He's very close to 1,500 hits in his career, I believe. And he likes to hit that ball into right center field.
Had a couple of hits the other way yesterday. Reached on an error by Cabrera on a hard hit grounder his first time up. So now Brinson at third, Rojas at second, Straley at first. Bases loaded without benefit of a base hit. And Castro takes up and away for ball 1. Good changeup by Matz. 1-1.
So there's your one swing right there. That Frazier coming in for some rosin, I guess.
Well, the rosin was misplaced. Matz had thrown it down and it had gone about 10 feet behind the mound. So Frazier wanted to make sure it wasn't going to get in anybody's way. Castro pulls one, foul. Got out quickly on that fastball, but yanked it foul, and it's 1-2.
I think he was looking in there after that changeup.
Steven threw 19 pitches in the first inning, 26 more here in the second, having to work harder because of the fielding errors behind him. But now a chance to get through it ahead on Castro, 1-2. And he bounces the curveball. 2-2.
Nice block by Plawecki.
Two coming. Struck him out. Went right back to the curveball, and he strikes out Castro. And Matz extricates himself from big-time trouble, not all his own making, in the second inning.
Nice.
1-0 Mets after.
I'm tired of losing, to be honest. You know, and everybody else in here, I'm sure, is. That's not what we want to do. We came here to win baseball games, and we're just not doing it. So we have to find a way to do that.
Certainly the most frustrated that we have heard Jacob deGrom sound through 17 mostly frustrating starts where he's pitched as well as any pitcher in the major leagues, but his team has not supported him in any facet of the game.
Well, I tell you what, he was probably mad at himself. The team, gave him a 2-run lead. He didn't hold it. Gave up the 2-run home run. And what I found really admirable in his comments after the game, Gary, was that he took a partial blame for that swinging bunt up the first base line that scored the third and deciding run. He said, I thought it was going to go foul, and I should have broke off the mound. So that's very, very admirable.
And he also said, the loss is on me because he gave up the home run. I mean, he was completely owning it, which he always does. I mean, Wilmer obviously should have charged it, and deGrom certainly could have done a little bit more, but it's an accumulation of things. It's not just what happened yesterday. The fact of the matter is that Jacob deGrom has been arguably the best pitcher in the major leagues this year, and the team is 6-11 when he starts. I mean, that's almost impossible.
Yes.
But it is the case. So it's only understandable that at some point the frustration would boil over to a certain extent, and that really, it goes for most of the starting pitching staff. They have pretty much done their jobs, whether it be Matz or Wheeler.
It's the one positive you can take out of the month of June is I think, Matz, Wheeler.
Nimmo strokes one foul.
Pitching terrific, and seemed like they have finally figured it out. And the Mets are 14.5 games out of first place. We're at the halfway point after this game. It's the 81st game of the year. We've got 81 left. It's something that you can pin your hat on, is if Wheeler, if all of a sudden now can maintain, and Matz.
Another strikeout for Nimmo as he goes down looking at an off-speed pitch, and Straley has his 4th strikeout. Well, there's no question. I mean, this team was built around starting pitching. The problem is that every other area of the team has been deficient.
Yes.
The bullpen has struggled. The defense is not good. The offense has underperformed, and it's left the starting pitchers out on an island. both figuratively and literally. Jose Bautista takes a strike. Bautista struck out his first time up. And the slider hit out to right, and Anderson is right there. 2 out.
The changeup is a field pitch. Watch how this comes off his 2 fingers to the right. And he just kind of, that's when you have the perfect motion as if you're throwing a fastball. It's almost like you hang it in that, it just rolls off the fingertips. It's almost like a tennis player when a tennis player has a forehand and you can pull it, or you can kind of make it run the other way like a slice in golf. It's the same kind of principle. I don't think it's a racket instead of fingertips.
And now 3-0 to Cabrera, who struck out looking his first time up. Two out and nobody on. 3-1 to Cabrera, and he hits one in the air to deep right field. Back goes Anderson. He takes a look, and it's out of here into the second deck. Asdrubal Cabrera with his 14th home run of the year. And the Mets now have a 2-0 lead in the third. "14 home runs for Cabrera, matching his total for all of last year, and he does it at the midway point of this season."
Fastball 3-1 right down the pipe into the wheelhouse. I believe Cabrera's career high is 27 when he was with Cleveland.
'25.
25. Okay.
Porto pulls one foul. So on a team that is built to hit home runs, where so many of the Mets home run hitters are underperforming their expected home run totals, whether it be Bruce, Conforto, Frazier, or Cespedes, Cabrera, along with Nimmo, those are the two guys who are outperforming home run expectations. 0-2 to Conforto, and it's taken low. A ball and 2 strikes. Michael struck out his first time up. 14 home runs, 45 RBIs for Cabrera at the midway point of the season. You do the math, and it works out to a pretty good year. I mean, he's on pace for 28, which would be the most he's ever hit. He's on pace for 90 RBIs, which is close to his career high.
2011 was a real fine year for Asdrubal.
One-two coming, and it's too high. 2-2 to Conforto. And he goes down swinging at the back foot slider. And Straley has his 5th strikeout of the day, 2nd time he's gotten Conforto. But Asdrubal Cabrera, with a majestic clout, adds to the Mets' lead. Live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game.
Oh, what a beautiful water.
Steven Matz now with a 2-0 lead as we start the bottom of the third. Matz has had to throw 47 pitches through the first 2 innings because of 2 errors made behind him. So he could use a little bit of a quicker inning as he faces Brian Anderson leading off the third. And Anderson, it's a 2-hopper to Rosario. 1 out. So now JT Realmuto, who has the only hit against Matz, a single into left in the first inning. Realmuto at this point has evolved into maybe the best catcher in the game when you put together his offense and his defense.
He reminds me of cut out of the same mold as John Stearns, a better hitter than John Stearns, but an athletic catcher, about the same size. Now Stearns ran better. Stearns was more of a stolen base threat.
Steven Matz, last 2 starts here, didn't allow a run, and he's kept the Marlins off the board the first 2 innings today. 1-2 to Realmuto. Question, of course, with Realmuto is, are the Marlins going to build around him, or are they going to cash him in the way they did with their other stars at the end of last season? I think a lot of people will be very interested as we move toward the trading deadline to see whether he is on the market or not. And he laces one into center field for his second hit of the day. I mean, he may not win a batting championship, but the more we watch him, the more he's turning into Buster Posey before our eyes.
That's a good comparison right there. And I think a lot goes into what the Marlin front office feels and coaching staff feels his input, his value as catcher. They got some young pitchers. We saw 2 young starters come up, win 2 ball games. Is he a positive behind the plate as far as helping young pitchers coming up, because this is a franchise that's gone completely to youth?
Yeah, I think when he first came up, he was not a finished product defensively. He was more of an offensive player, but I think that he has improved leaps and bounds defensively, and he's only 27. So it depends on, if you're the Marlins, what your time frame is, right? If you're thinking we can win within 3 years, as they rebuild, then why wouldn't you want to keep Realmuto around to be the linchpin of that?
Well, it depends what you can get for him, and that's always speculative.
Well, it's like the Mets conversations about DeGrom, right? I mean, what can you get for him? And you know, that informs whether you'd be even willing to think about dealing one of your best, if not your best player. Cameron Maben fouls one off, and it's 1-2.
Well, you know, I've always felt that these guys are in better shape, better conditioned, the everyday players anyway, and 28 to 32 is your prime.
Yeah, but that's not the way they look at it anymore.
I understand that.
I mean, the way the game has evolved, it is skewed much younger than that.
Well, I think a lot of it is, well, I tell you what, Gary, if you think that way, then you better start drafting out of high school and getting these kids out of college. They're 21 years old. You're not going to have much time with them if you think they're going to be over the hill by 30. So there better be a change of thought there. I disagree. I know it's a lot tougher travel today, a lot more wear and tear on the travel, but these guys come in shape, and there's no reason that the
Realmuto runs and Maben fouls it off.
There's no reason that because of generations that there's a difference in being in your prime. 28 to 32 to me is still at your physical best at 28. You grow into your body, and become physically a man, and also you grow up here with experience, and then you have those 4 years, 28 to 32, where I think they're optimum.
The reason why I think it's changed, Keith, is because in your generation, you were not playing as much baseball as a teenager as these kids are now. With travel ball and the specialization in sports, as Maven flies one out to right field, and Bautista comes over to get it. Real Muto holds the first 2 out. Because they're playing so many more games and playing baseball exclusively, most of them anyway, they're much more ready, I guess, to hit the ground running at a younger age. And you know, you look at the guys who come into Major League Baseball, you know, the Ozzie Albies and the Juan Sotos and Bryce Harper when he came up, these guys who are 19, 20 years old and are able to make an impact at that age. I just think the dynamic has changed as far as the way front offices are looking at it, because they feel as though these guys can produce at younger ages.
Well, then that would be would feed right into what I said about drafting out of high school.
Right.
Getting kids young.
Well, it certainly works in favor of the players from outside the U.S. and Canada who don't have to go through the draft, who can sign when they're 16, right? And obviously get that kind of a head start on a professional career. Bohr popped up his first time up, and he breaks his bat and pops this one up, and Cabrera puts it away, and that retires the side. Matz works around the hit by Real Muto. 2-0 Mets after 3. Roof closed at Marlins Park for the 3rd straight day. Hot and humid outside, you know. Of course, folks in New York know that too. It's just as hot and humid there as it is here. 4th inning, 2-0 New York. Wilmer Flores leads off against Dan Straley. Goes after a first pitch slider, 0-1. Flores hit one of the warning track in left field his first time up. Flores, then Frazier and Plawecki for the Mets in the 4th. Already gotten more against Straley in this game than they did the last time they faced him, and Wilmer lines a base hit to the left. So Wilmer's hit 2 balls well, and the Mets have a leadoff hit in the 4th. Well, it's time now for our SNY crew photo of the weekend and our new best friend Luke.
I ran into Luke.
We had a wide-ranging conversation with Luke last night. He seems to be right on point about all the elements of Manhattan real estate with a side business in Brooklyn. He can talk up Williamsburg real estate too. He's 11 years old, by the way.
He cornered me in the lobby earlier.
Fortunately, I wasn't in a hurry.
Well, Luke has a lot of thoughts, and he was very nice about sharing them with us, including the fact that his brother Jack is an aspiring sportscaster. You know,
he told me that too.
And Jack is 13, so you know we might be seeing him in a kidcaster contest one of these days.
He asked me what happened to the kidcasters.
What do you mean? Frazier hits one through the hole. That's a base hit, and the Mets have 2 men on. What do you mean? What happened to the kidcasters?
No, we haven't had it, have we?
Not yet, but we have it every year.
We are going to have it again.
Of course.
We haven't promoted it, or am I missing it?
I think it's one of those things that all the people who need to know about. Anyway, it was nice to meet Luke, who was a great kid, and I think he's going to do very well for himself. He aims to be an entrepreneur. I mean, he's up on mid-century modern and vaulted ceilings, and wants to know what your budget is.
When I first saw him, I thought he was a character in The Incredibles.
He may have superpowers. Here's Plawecki pulling one down to third, taken to the bag by Rivera. The throw to first for the double play. Well, Plawecki, who drove in a run with a double his first time up, hits another ball hard, but right to Rivera, who starts the 5-5-3 double play.
Well, there's your pitcher's best friend right there. That ball was hit hard. And a nice backhand by Rivera. One hop. Plenty of time to set and turn to 2. Defense.
And once again, they will intentionally walk Ahmed Rosario, who's becoming the king of the free pass. Coming into this series, Rosario had walked 8 times all season. He's now walked 6 times in this series. And yes, it is the abracadabra walk. Folks, second of the day.
We're pulling out all the stops, folks.
Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of the hat. Here's Matz with 2 out and 2 on.
Was it the right hat?
Not that again. Matz at a soft liner to short his first time up. And Strelly falls behind him 2-0. Remember, Matz walked Strelly with a couple of men on, put himself in harm's way in the second inning. Steven looking for that RBI touch that was such a part of his big league debut. And he lines one into right center field. That'll drive in a run. Frazier around third comes in to score. Rosario pulls in at third. Steven Matz with his first RBI of the season and the 9th of his career. And it's 3-0 New York.
Well, just because the numbers aren't there on Met pitchers, starting pitchers, doesn't mean that they can't hit. The league got wise to him. And Matz is a threat up there, a big threat. He swings a good bat.
Well, it's the first hit with a runner in scoring position for the Mets in this series, and it belongs to Steven Matz. So 3-0 New York, and now Nimmo will try and build on it. First and third and 2 out. And Brandon goes after a changeup and misses. 0-1. Nimmo's popped to short, taking a call, third strike. 1 for 10 now in this series. He's just looked off since he got hit by that pitch last week.
I believe that's the first "Let's Go Met" I've heard in this ballpark.
At least in this series.
Right. Precisely.
Looks like we have the largest crowd of the series, and a lot of Met fans who've been here for the weekend. 2-1 to Nimmo. Met fans may be discouraged, but they're not silent. Rosario at third, Matz at first with 2 out. And Nimmo takes off speed below the knees, and it's 3-1. So Strelly painting himself into a corner. We'll say Bautista would be next. And Nimmo pops it up. Out goes Rojas to call. And that retires the side. Nimmo's struggles continue, but Matz drives in a run. And the Mets have a 3-0 lead in the 4th. It's Canada Day today, and they'll be in Toronto before Canada Day is over. They get an off day tomorrow. Tuesday night back in action against the Blue Jays. Coverage begins at 6:30 Tuesday night on SNY. Zach Wheeler against Marco Estrada Tuesday. Corey Oswalt gets his second start against the Long Island native Marcus Stroman on Wednesday night. And we get more on the Blue Jays from Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, the last time that the Mets saw the Blue Jays, it was right after Marcus Stroman went on the DL. He had a really rough start to the season. His first 7 starts, a 7.71 ERA. He was walking batters over 10% of the time. It was a career-high walk rate. But he's now back. He's healthy, and in his last 2 starts since coming off the DL, looks much more like the Marcus Stroman that we've come to see over the last couple of years. 12 innings over his last 2 starts. He's given up just 1 earned run, 10 hits, only walked 1 batter, so that control that we're used to seeing out of him is back after a really rough beginning to the season for Stroman.
Finally got a win in his last start. I mean, the starting pitching has been dreadful for the Blue Jays, with the exception of the guy who's pitching for them today against the Tigers, and that's Jay Happ, who's won 6 straight and figures to be a prime candidate for the Blue Jays to turn into some prospects before the trading deadline. Lewis Brinson leads off. It's one back to Matz, who grabs it behind his leg and makes the play. A little dipsy-do by Matz to get Brinson 1 out.
Now get a smile. The old backhand.
I mean, it wasn't quite a Vince Velasquez play,
Right.
but it was still pretty nice. Of course, Velasquez suffered a lot of pain to make his outstanding play yesterday. This was just a neat pickup. If you didn't see it last night, the Phillies' Vince Velasquez got hit on the pitching elbow by a line drive, chased after the ball, ditched his glove, and then threw it to first base with his left hand.
And threw it strong, accurately.
I mean, from near the third base line, and then he collapsed in pain. And Velasquez went on the DL today with a bruised elbow, but it was very impressive for a guy throwing with his offhand. Although we found out later that Velasquez actually, in high school, played some center field as a left-handed thrower.
Ambidextrous.
Not quite Pat Venditti, but still able to use both arms. You know who was ambidextrous, who could throw with both hands, was Lee Mazzilli.
Really?
Yeah, when he played in high school, he used both arms to throw with. Miguel Rojas reached on air his first time up, and Matz falls behind him 3-1. By the way, speaking of pitching feats, congratulations to Bartolo Colon. If you look at the Spectrum high-speed pitch, Colon, victory number 245 last night, tying Dennis Martinez for the most among all Latin American pitchers. There's strike 3 and 2 to Rojas. He didn't pitch great last night, but he was in the right place to get another milestone win, and now he needs one more to be the king of all of Latin America as far as pitching victories is concerned.
He'll get it.
Here's that Vince Velasquez play from last night. And collapsed in pain right after making the play. I mean, that was a pretty good throw for a guy. I mean, and he had to think on the spot to do that, to ditch his glove, and obviously was in a lot of pain as he approached the ball, but it's great presence of mind. Rojas socks one toward the gap in left center field, and that ball bounces up against the wall. Rojas to second. He'll pull in there with a 1-out double. Third hit of the day for the Marlins, their first extra base hit. It comes with 1 out in the 4th.
Fastball. Didn't get it in enough. Rojas just always seems to be doing something to hurt the Mets.
So he's at second with 1 out, and now Yadiel Rivera, who struck out his first time up, and late swing foul on the fastball, 0-1. Anyway, the Mets are getting the Blue Jays at a time when Toronto is playing a lot better. They've won 10 of their last 11 at home going into their game today with the Tigers. There goes Rojas stealing third. He got a great jump, and no chance for Plawecki to throw him out. He got a huge running start, his second stolen base of the game, and his 5th of the year.
Oh boy, did he ever get a jump.
Why would a hitter duck?
Right, you stay there and stay in the path.
Be an impediment. It didn't matter on that play, but boy, it's the advantage you have as the offensive team stealing third, having a right-hand hitter up there. And Matz picks off the inside corner. It's 2-2. Well, Rivera was up with a runner at third and 1 out his last time up, and Matz struck him out. Now he's got another chance, and the Mets are playing the infield back, conceding the run on a ground ball. And Matz looking for another strikeout. And Rivera able to waste that curveball away. 2-2. And Matz got him looking again. Same pitch. Fastball on the inside corner. And Rivera again leaves a runner at third and goes down looking.
Well, you got all those charts. And Matz loves to throw inside, and he struck him out the first time on a fastball inside, and no adjustment.
Guess he didn't check the charts. So 2 out. Matz has done a lot of tiptoeing through the tulips in this game to keep the Marlins off the board. Here's Straley, who walked his first time up, but it's cost Steven a lot of pitches, up to 81 pitches in the 4th inning. So this might be a 5 and fly day for Steven. Right now working on a string of 16 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings in this ballpark, including his 3 today. And Straley pushes a bunt. Matz off the mound and he boots it, and a run comes home. How about that? Dan Straley, a lifetime .056 hitter, bunts home a run. And it's 3-1 New York.
I don't recall a pitcher ever doing that in my years in professional ball. It's not a bad play, Garrett. I mean, you're not a good hitter. They're going to rule that a hit?
No, it's an error.
Yes.
And no RBI, but still putting the ball in play rather than striking out gives you a chance, and that's what Straley did. And Matz botched it, the 3rd Met error of the game. And Matz finally gives up a run in this ballpark, albeit an unearned one. So now Castro up for the 3rd time. 0 for 2 today, and he takes a fastball inside. So the stolen base proves costly. Rojas stealing 3rd and coming home on that 2-out bunt. Again, an error costing Matz more pitches, in this case his own error. That's made a crucial error yesterday. They've made 3 errors in the first 4 innings today. Starlin Castro piling up the base hits. He's only 28. Runs a slider in on him. 2-2. Biggest knock on Castro earlier in his career was that his concentration would wander, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, and he is a base hit machine. And he goes down swinging on the changeup. 2nd time Matz has struck out Castro today. And that ends the inning. But an unearned run for the Marlins gets them on the board. 3-1 New York.
Conversation with a close friend of mine. We were talking about confidence and believing and momentum and things like this. So I came to the ballpark that day all fired up. I was in extremely good mood. And I was out here in the outfield during batting practice hollering to the different players on the club and to the fans that you got to believe, you know.
Yeah, that's sort of what happened. This Mets memory presented by Burden LLP Accountants and Advisors. You know what really happened, right? Is that the Mets board chairman M. Donald Grant came into the Mets clubhouse to give them a bucking up, and he wasn't really a bucking up kind of guy, but at some point he said something about believing, and Tug
jumped right in,
kind of was let's just say mocking the chairman of the board, and he started yelling out, you gotta believe, and it became the rallying cry for those 73 Mets. A lot of exercising going on. Those bands have become a huge piece of the relief pitcher's repertoire. 3-1 New York. Jose Bautista pops up the first pitch he sees in the 5th inning. And in shallow left field, Rojas puts it away. 1 pitch and 1 out for Dan Straley in the 5th. Bautista now 0 for 3. And now Cabrera, who banged one into the 2nd deck in right field for his 14th home run of the year in the 3rd inning, matching last year's home run total. You know what today is, Keith? Other than Canada Day?
Tell me.
It's Hump Day. You know how Wednesday is Hump Day in the week? Today is Game 81. It's Hump Day of the season.
Oh, the middle. I got you. It's the Wednesday of the season.
Up one side of the hump and now down the other side. Hump Day.
Yep, you can start checking off the days now. Still a long way. 81 games.
It's half a season.
Yes, it is.
That's what makes it Hump Day.
You know, you had to bring it up.
It's all downhill from here, Keith.
Yes, it is.
1-2 from Straley, and it's rolled over onto the right side. And Cabrera's thrown out, 2 away. That's a 5-3 put out in your scorecard. Rivera overlapped onto the right side.
It seems a little longer this year because the season started in March.
Yes.
You know, it's the first time I've ever had to go through a full month of March in my entire professional career.
Well, there are more off days this year.
Yes.
I mean, the Mets are experiencing a stretch where they have 3 off days in an 8-day span. Never used to really get that before, and I think it's the 2nd time it's happened this year.
First time the Major League season opened up in March. I mean, they were opened up almost in the old days in a 154 game schedule. They opened up almost in the middle of March.
Middle of April.
Excuse me.
Well, the Mets had opened in March before, but not. I mean, it was March 29th this year. The only time they opened earlier was when they opened the season in Japan in 2000.
That's the exception.
Right. But they had opened March 31st. That had happened before. But whereas all the baseball began on the same day this year, and they will end again with games played at the same time on the final day of the season. That 3 o'clock universal start the last day. Conforto struck out each of his first 2 at bats, and Straley sails a changeup up and away, 3-1. Michael in a real funk right now. 1 for 9 in this series. Strikeouts in each of his last 4 at bats. And he fouls off that changeup, 3-2. And there goes the third baseman over to the right side again. Rojas will go back the other way. Like 2 receivers in a crisscrossing pattern. And Conforto gets aboard with a 2-out walk. 4th walk given up by Straley. And so the Mets have a 2-out base runner for Wilmer Flores, who's hit a couple of balls hard already today. Flied out to the warning track in left field in the second, and a base hit into left field in the fourth. Wilmer now has a 9-game hitting streak and a 16-game on base streak. It's a lot of blue and orange on that side. Another one pulled, this one foul. And you got the stripes going on. You got the orange at the bottom.
I missed the stirrups.
I mean, they don't. This one doesn't have the skyline on it. You got the NY logo. It's a lot of sock right there. Wilmer hits one toward the middle, run down by Rojas. The backhand flip just in time to get Conforto for the third out. Nicely done by Rojas, ranging wide to his left. And then the backhand flip had just enough on it. Hi, Fish. Has thrown 89 pitches over the first 4 innings. He'll face 2, 3, and 4 in the Marlins batting order, working with a 3-1 lead. Brian Anderson has twice hit ground balls, once into double play. Real Muto and Maben to follow against Matz, who's had a ton of traffic to deal with, in part because of 3 Met errors, including one of his own. And Seth Lugo is on call in the Mets bullpen. Lugo just moved back to the bullpen this weekend. That certainly fortifies that unit. And Matz just hoping he can get through 5 here and give himself a chance to get a win. And Anderson chases a changeup, and it's 2-2.
Stevens had a very good changeup today, and not just the fact that he's throwing it well. I don't see any tipping in his motion gear, which is something he's done in the past a lot, and I haven't seen it this game.
So that note on Anderson, good 2-strike hitter, chokes up a little bit with 2 strikes. And he dribbles one up the line, and Plawecki gets him at first base. That's quite a play by Plawecki on a ball that was sitting just inside the line. Had to pounce, and he got Anderson by an eyelash for the first down.
He went to grab that ball. It hit the lip of the grass. Strong throw. Got him.
Nice play by Plawecki. Good stretch by Wilmer. And the Mets get the first out. Now Real Muto is 2 for 2. Single to left, single to center.
As close as it gets. Yes, sir.
And Anderson did not linger at the bag at first, waiting to see whether the Marlins were going to challenge it. See almost every player do that now. He knew he was out.
Yes.
And so he headed back to the dugout. You know, like the way the game was played for 150 years before replay. Somehow.
Whatever you say, Gar. I'm in your camp.
And Real Muto down on 3 pitches. Matz comes with an 0-2 slider to get him. 5 strikeouts now for Steven.
Boy, it's not easy to overmatch Real Muto like that.
Be at Citi Field Saturday, July 7th. The Mets take on the Rays at 4:10 p.m. The first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Jacob deGrom bobblehead courtesy of your local Ford dealers. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets.
Look at Jesse.
Look at you. Maben takes up and away for ball 1. I mean, we not only had you, but we had the reflection of you off the back.
That's right.
Of the showcase as well. And that's with another good changeup, and it's 1-1. Maben's popped to third, fly to right. Matz with a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning of the day. Marlins have stranded 6 runners in the first 4 innings. And Steven is right at 100 pitches for the day. And now behind on Maben, 3-1. Matz is due up 4th in the top of the 6th, and in all probability this is going to be his last inning anyway. As Lugo's ready to go, wave of the cap by Ricky Bonas, signaling that's the universal signal for my relief pitcher is ready.
And he's still signaling. Hello? Hello? London calling.
Maybe it means the phone's not working. 3-2 coming. And Maben pops one up into right field. Bautista ready for it to come down. And Matz has his 5 innings in the books. His first 1-2-3 inning of the day. After 5 in Miami. 3-1 New York. Sixth inning, Todd Frazier leads off against Dan Straley and takes outside for ball one. Good day for Frazier so far. A walk and a single. He scored 2 runs. Steven Matz looks like he's done after 5 innings on 103 pitches. No earned runs allowed for a 3rd straight start at Marlins Park. 1-1 to Frazier with Plawecki and Rosario to follow. Pitcher spot due up 4th in the inning, and Lugo, as you saw, was ready to go in the Mets bullpen. Probably see him in the bottom of the 6th. And Frazier chases a slider, and it's 2-2. Todd's 3 for 8 in this series, including a home run yesterday. As one of the Mets' 5 hits today. And he hits this one out to right. Over toward the corner goes Anderson at the wall to make the catch. Frazier taking one deep the other way. 1 out.
That's out in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, well, that was so last year for Todd. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Kevin Plawecki, who drove in the first run of this game with a double to left center in the 2nd, then grounded into a double play in the 4th. Mets will reach the statistical midway point of the season with either 32 or 33 wins. Last year they had 38 wins at the midway point of the season. Mets begin the day with the worst record in the National League, having fallen percentage points behind Miami with yesterday's loss. Phillies and Nats continuing their series this afternoon, and the Nats have a 3-0 lead over Jake Arrieta and the Phils in the 5th. That's pulled toward 3rd, knocked down by Rivera, recovers in time to throw out Plawecki. 2 out. Nice strong arm by Yadiel Rivera. Let's check in with Gary Apple in the studio for a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. Gary? In fact, Matt did not allow a hit in the first 4 innings of that game, so he continues to pitch well.
Gary Apple is going to take over the helm. Gary, they won't let you and I in the country.
Something we said.
Well, my passport was declined.
Rosario Plasma.
So Gary's handling the play-by-play with Mr. Darling.
So they will be celebrating the 4th of July north of the border.
Yes, they will.
Today, of course, is Canada's national holiday. It is Canada Day, formerly known as Dominion Day. Rosario pops one up. And Justin Bour waiting for it. Catches it in foul ground, and Straley has a 1-2-3 top of the 6th. 3-1 New York in the 6th. Well, it turns out Steven Matz will continue into the bottom of the 6th inning, maybe just for one batter, with the left-hand hitter Justin Bohr due to lead off. Bohr has been up twice, popped up both times, and Matz throws him a first pitch curveball that misses for ball 1.
I thought it was a strike.
It was a strike. You were correct. That was a ball.
I thought you said for ball 1.
I was wrong. That happens, Keith. You have to stay alert.
I'm not calling you out on it.
I'm just letting you know that it happens, and you have to be alert to that possibility.
You woke me up out of my stupor.
And that's inside. It's 2-1 to Bohr. You got Brinson, Rojas, Rivera, 3 right-hand hitters after Bohr. Matz has thrown 110. He did that in his last start against the Pirates. And that curveball stays inside. Now it's 3-1. Steven has walked 2, struck out 5 today. Allowed 1 run and 3 hits. And now 3-2 to Bohr.
Oh, I like this. Look at that. Look at the catcher. Sweet.
3-2. Changeup struck him out. Number 6 for Matz, and that'll be the end of his afternoon. So they stretched him out one more batter to face the lefty. He gets the job done against Bohr, and now the Mets will make a double switch and bring Lugo into the game.
Beautiful pitch.
So Jose Reyes will come into play short. He'll bat 9th. Seth Lugo will take over the pitching, and Matz will leave with the lead. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 3-1 Mets in the 6th. We'll be right back to Miami. Seth Lugo on to pitch with 1 out on the bottom of the 6th. Lewis Brinson, the first man he'll face, and a first pitch curveball in for a strike. We'll say Reyes in at shortstop. He'll bat 9th. Lugo will hit 8th as Rosario came out.
Well, this is Lugo's first relief appearance in quite some time.
Last pitched on Monday against the Pirates. His most recent start, he went 5 innings, allowed 3 runs, 1 earned on 4 hits. Not thrilled to be back in the bullpen. He'd rather be a starter, but the Mets are a much better team with him in the bullpen. Brinson has walked and hit a comebacker, 0 for 1 today. Takes the curveball inside. Mets bullpen over the last 33 games has a 6.29 ERA, and that doesn't quite coincide with Lugo's absence, but certainly he was missed. And a knee-high fastball for a strike, 3-2. I mean, the interesting part about Seth's tenure as a starter, and he had 2 really good starts, right? He threw those 10 scoreless innings, including the 6 against the Yankees. First time he went back in the rotation. As he strikes out Brinson for the 2nd out. I mean, he was throwing a lot harder in the bullpen, and he took that into his first couple of starts.
Right.
But then as he made the last couple of starts, the velocity backed up again. And the coaching staff took notice, and they wanted to go back to being that, you know, fireballing pitcher who can throw 96 miles an hour, which he was earlier in the season.
Well, he wore down a little bit, Garrett. It seems like to me, if he's losing some velocity, getting thrown into that starting role, and he was missing on his curveballs too, which was, I mean, we mentioned earlier in the year when he started the season, he almost all the time led off everybody with a sharp curveball for a strike. And he began missing up high, which means his arm was lagging, which maybe, you know, Ronnie could probably address it better than I. But a little arm weary, I don't know.
Well, he's popping his fastball here. He's ahead on Rojas 0-2. I mean, the mantra for starters has changed, right? It used to be that you had to pace yourself to get through 9 innings. Now it's throw as hard as you can, as long as you can. And some guys can go 100 pitches doing that, and some guys can't. And Lugo may be one of those guys who's better off throwing 30 or 40 at a time rather than 100. And the curveball fouled off, still 0-2. Here's today's Verizon trivia question. Don Mattingly, one of 5 Marlins managers to have 1,000 or more hits in his career. Who are the other 4? I think Jack McKeon had 1,000 hits.
No. Ozzie Guillen.
Jeff Torborg.
Did Jeff get 1,000 hits? Wasn't he primarily a backup catcher?
Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
I think who else has been their manager. 1-2 coming. Bounce toward the hole. Cut off there by Frazier. Throws him out. No, Jim Leland didn't have 1,000 hits.
No.
Never played in the big leagues. Lugo comes in to get his 2 outs. 3-1 Mets after 6. Seventh inning, 3-1 New York. Jose Reyes, who just came in on a double switch, will come up against Dan Straley in the seventh. And Reyes goes after a first pitch changeup, 0-1. Jose appeared as a pinch hitter in the game yesterday, hit a ground ball to short, ran half speed to first base, and told Mickey Callaway that he had felt something in his upper hamstring coming out of the batter's box, and that's why he didn't run full speed. Nothing serious enough, though, to keep him from being available today. Strikes out on 3 pitches against Straley, who has his 6th strikeout of the day, 1 out in the 7th.
And so it goes. Your favorite writer, one of your faves.
Vonnegut?
Yep.
Thought you were doing Linda Ellerby. Here's Brandon Nimmo, who's 0 for 3. Popped up twice and struck out. Now 1 for his last 17. Adam Conley looked very impressive in relief yesterday, up again in the Marlins bullpen. Straley approaching 100 pitches for the day. He's thrown as many as 108 in a start this year. He misses high to Nimmo, 2-1. Straley with an extra day of rest because of his suspension that ended today. And Nimmo tops one toward first. It kicks foul. 2-2. Very similar to the ball that Riddle hit yesterday.
Yes.
That Flores didn't charge.
A little more up the line, and Bohr was playing back instead of holding a runner on.
But you see how he charged it.
Yes.
Here's your Acura Mets box score. Home run for Asdrubal Cabrera. RBI double for Kevin Plawecki. Steven Matz had the other RBI, his first of the season. 2-out single in the 4th. Enough for a 3-1 lead. Nimmo grounds one. 2 hopper for Castro. 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Gary Apple has another game break. Gary. Hey Gary, just make sure your passport is in order. We don't want any incidents. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Jose Bautista. Bautista has struck out, flat out, and popped up. He's 0 for 3. And Straley misses away, ball 1. Of course, Bautista will be heading back to his old haunts. It'll be his first game back at Rogers Center since leaving the Blue Jays at the end of last season. I'm sure he will get a very warm welcome. He was an extraordinarily popular player in Toronto. And Straley gets ahead of him 1-2.
Pigeon-toed Batista. Look at that. Kind of unusual. We see a lot of guys that point the front foot back towards the catcher, but he's got the back foot actually pointing the opposite direction, which is pigeon-toed.
Like Moises Alou.
I hope I haven't offended any of the pigeons that are out there.
Like the Pigeon Sisters. Now tipped and held for strike 3, and Straley has his 7th strikeout. He's retired 7 in a row. Stretch time in Miami with the Mets up 3-1. teaming up with the New York Jets. We're looking to help local football leagues with grants, equipment donations, clinics, and Jets game experiences. Does your league need assistance? Apply today at sny.tv/playball. Well, earlier today we showed you the uniforms they wore in Seattle last night for Turn Ahead the Clock Night, the 20th anniversary edition. And we asked you in our Toyota tweet of the game what your thoughts were on those futuristic uniforms. And here are some of your responses. Ed says they're better than the Diamondbacks. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
They're close.
Nothing worse than those Diamondback road uniforms. Looked like they were getting ready for a softball game, not a major league game. And what else? No jetpacks. See, now that would change the game, right? We talk about the way the game has changed. If they were able to wear jetpacks,
Bring back speed.
right? There you go. If the Mets win 2 in a row, I don't care if they wear barrels or Mercury Mets jerseys for that matter. Thank you for your response. I'm all in favor of the jetpacks. I think there's not enough speed in the game. I mean, think about how outfielders could rob home runs with a good jetpack.
Better than the outfielder and damn Yankees going back and catching that.
JT Riddle batting for Yadiel Rivera, leading off in the 7th inning for the Marlins. Riddle started yesterday at shortstop. He was the one who hit that slow ground ball that Flores was tentative on, that wound up putting the Marlins in front to stay. Seth Lugo got 2 outs in the 6th, staying on for the 7th, and Riddle lines one to left. Conforto lays out and makes the catch. Beautiful play by Conforto for the first out.
Nice play by Michael here. What he can get to, he has got good hands. He can make the play. That's a beautiful diving catch.
So Conforto recently moved back to left, with Nimmo taking over in center, and makes a fine play there. Now J.B. Shuck will pinch hit. They had Derek Dietrich on deck. I guess they would have batted Dietrich if Riddle had gotten on with the tying run coming up. But with the bases empty, they'll go to Shuck. Shuck struck out as a pinch hitter in yesterday's game. Tyrone Guerrero is up in the bullpen for Miami.
He's going to be our finisher.
And Lugo falls behind Shuck 2-0. Steven Matz went 5 1/3, allowed an unearned run on 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 109 pitches. His ERA goes down to 3.46. And a fastball strike to Shuck, 2-1. So Matz continues to see his season trend in a positive direction. Starlin Castro waiting on deck. And Shuck bluffs the bunt and takes it low. 3-1. And a fly ball out to left. This is an easier play for Conforto. 2 out. Get all the reaction, comments, and opinions from today's Mets Marlins game on Mets Blog, presented by Citi. So there have been 8 hits in this game. There have been 14 strikeouts in this game. Yes. The month of June was the 2nd month in Major League history where there were more strikeouts than hits. First time that ever happened was April of this year.
Right.
Second time it ever happened, June of this year. More strikeouts than hits. And July is beginning the same way. And it's certainly something that is of concern to the powers that be in this game and everybody who really cares about baseball.
Well, strikeouts are no action. Walks are no action. And really, home runs aren't much action. So yes, it is a concern. I don't know what to tell you. There's new philosophies in hitting, and you got launch angle and attempts to get the proper launch angle, uppercut swinging. You've got guys trying to pull the ball more to get lift. You got shifts.
Hey, all I know is that the team that won the World Series last year struck out the fewest times of any major league team.
That's true. Houston.
The Kansas City Royals won the World Series in 2015. They didn't strike out.
Yep.
The Giants won 3 World Series in this decade. They didn't strike out. I mean, so it's kind of disproven, right? All the theories that we're talking about. The teams that put the ball in play. Look at the Braves this year.
Yes.
They put the ball in play. Look where they are. It is definitely not good for the game. And here's the larger survey, right? The last 40 full months are the 40 months with the most strikeouts of any months in Major League history. So it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know where it changes or why or how it changes. But it's definitely not good for the game and the entertainment value of the game. Castro takes low and in for ball 4. So a 2-out walk. Well, that's where the trend has gone the last 5 years, which is basically the period that we're talking about, right? The last 40 months.
Well, you're preaching to the choir, Gary, and I am pleased and hopeful that Major League Baseball, the powers that be, are aware of this.
Well, they're aware and they're concerned, and they should be concerned, because the entertainment value of this game is a big piece of what keeps people watching. You know, stats are great. You know, figuring out ways to hit more home runs is great. Strikeouts are great if you're the pitcher, but getting more people to watch a beautiful game that's been stripped down to some of its barest elements is a challenge.
Yes. Well, you know, I used to always look at strikeouts and pitchers and statistics, and now I don't even bother to look unless they're the top strikeout leaders, where they're so their strikeouts are so high you have to take notice. But I hardly pay attention to strikeouts anymore. Everybody gets strikeouts.
That's driven to left by Anderson. Back goes Conforto at the track to make the catch. Conforto with all 3 putouts in the inning. Anderson making a bid for another game-tying home run, but he comes up a little bit short as Conforto is able to reel it in on the warning track. We played 7 in Miami, 3-1 New York. Shortstop to third base. JT Riddle, who pinch hit, stays in the game at short. And the fireballing right-hander Tyrone Guerrero on to pitch for Miami.
Well, his 40th game, as you can see. Got some walk issues. 22 walks in 38 innings pitched. Way too many. A lot of hits given up per innings pitched. But he's a strikeout guy.
Average fastball velocity 98.4. He was very successful early this season, then kind of hit a wall. That's looking to add to a 3-1 lead as they come to bat in the 8th. Asdrubal Cabrera hit a home run into the second deck in right field in the 3rd inning, his 14th of the year. 1 for 3 on the day. Mets 3 runs, 5 hits. The Marlins 1 run, 3 hits as we start the 8th. Marlins bullpen has been very impressive so far in this series. And Guerrero misses with his first fastball, ball 1. Yesterday, Conley, Steckenrider, and Barraclaw combined for 3 perfect innings. First game of the series, Mets got 1 run in 4 innings against the Marlins bullpen. Guerrero, 27 years old. He's a native of Colombia. It took him a while to get to the big leagues. He had been up briefly with the Padres a couple of years ago and then burst on the scene this year. But as Keith has mentioned, he has struggled with his control, and he's immediately behind on Cabrera, 3-0.
Well, it's just another one of the trends in today's game, Gare. Find the guy that can throw it through a brick wall. He's a diamond in the rough. Really, with that many walks, you're still in AAA trying to hone your skills. Get your command.
And a 4-pitch walk to Cabrera to start Guerrero's outing. It's 5 walks given up by Marlins pitchers today. Dan Strelly went 7, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 2 intentional, 7 strikeouts, 106 pitches. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night, all the baseball news. Free agency underway in the NBA. John Tavares leaving the Islanders. Sorry, Islander fans. Oh, by the way, the World Cup, that's going on too. Russia beat Spain today on penalty kicks.
Yes, we saw that together.
Here's Conforto. 2 strikeouts and a walk today, and he takes a strike.
So, Garrett, back to our conversation last inning about the strikeouts. What could Major League Baseball do? It's, you know, the pitchers are out there pitching and the hitters are out there striking out.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that the powers that be can do from above. I think, though, that there's a growing realization among the better teams that for hitters, strikeouts are bad, right? We went through this entire period where the advanced analytic community believed that strikeouts were good for pitchers but didn't matter for hitters. I was told that by front office people who were in analytics till the cows came home. I think that trend is changing. I think they understand now that just as a strikeout is good for a pitcher, it's also bad for a hitter, because if you don't put the ball in play, nothing positive can happen for the offense. So I think there's a trend the other way now within the game, but it has to be based on how you teach hitting, right? Whether it's a 2-strike approach, choking up to put the ball in play a little bit more than you would with your normal swing, as Conforto strikes out for the 3rd time today. Whether that means, you know, teaching more of a level swing that produces more contact rather than the uppercut swings that have become the norm. I think that's a cyclical thing in the game, because I think there's more of an understanding now that strikeouts are detrimental offensively, and I think the success of the Astros last year helps that trend along.
And as you mentioned, Atlanta this year, they got nothing but line drive hitters.
Popped up by Flores, and that'll come out of play.
And I think it is that the home run, we used to talk about being intoxicating. Hitters would get hit home runs and go into slumps. But I think it's with today, they feel I feel that the emphasis on the home runs, where they're going to make their money, their big payday, get their big contract. And I just think it detracts from making you the best player that you can be, the best hitter that you can be. Not an emphasis on a batting championship,
hitting 300. That used to be, you know, something you strove for, and I got to still believe everybody wants to hit 300, but the emphasis is not there like it used to be, and it's coming from front offices too.
Well, again, I think that the generation of ball players that is reaching the major leagues today, as Wilmer smacks one to center, but right at Brinson, and that's the second out. The generation of ball players that's getting to the big leagues today was trained based on the idea that strikeouts for hitters didn't matter. But I do think that because there's a better understanding now at the major league level, as the analytics continue to evolve, that putting the ball in play is more important. I think maybe the game will trend the other way with the next generation of hitters coming up.
So you feel that the pendulum is swinging back?
I hope. I think so, and it makes sense, right? We all know from watching the game, right? The people who actually watch the game, that when you put the ball in play, good things can happen. Look at the Dan Straley bunt, right? With a runner at third. He put the ball in play, something good happened for his team. That's the way baseball works. Strikeouts are completely unproductive.
And then it forces emphasis on defense.
Right.
Because the ball's in play, you better have some gloves out there.
Well, I think that, you know, this game tends to be cyclical, and I would hope that the folks who are making decisions are making it based on what actually helps you win games. And that's really the bottom line, right? I mean, the thought process has been walks and home runs are the most important thing to help you win games. Not necessarily the case. I mean, those things are great, but there are other ways to score runs.
What was the percentage? You know, we heard it a million times. The team that out homers the other team wins what?
70%
70% of the time.
Frazier hits one out in the gap in right center. Over comes Brinson, and he drops the ball. Cabrera around third. He's going to try to score. The throw to the plate is airmailed. Going to third is Frazier, and he arrives there safely. Well, Brinson covered a lot of ground to get over in the gap, but then the ball clanked off his glove, and the Mets get a run. It's 4-1.
That's got to be an E8 here. He did run a long way.
They scored this a double.
Oh my
There's no
God.
way. That's got to be an error.
That is a home book.
Pitcher won't like it. So Cabrera scores all the way from first on what is credited as a double for Frazier. He takes third on the throw.
He'll take that double any day that we got an RBI in it. I can't believe that's called a double.
I mean, he did go a long way, but he's right there, and the ball hit his glove. And he knows he should have caught it. And then he airmailed the throw home, which enabled Frazier to more easily go to third.
And Guerrero also took an inordinate amount of time to throw to third. He had Frazier out by a mile, and he put it in slow motion, getting the ball there.
0-2 to Plawecki, and he just got a piece of it.
Yeah, he knows he should have had it. How did I drop that?
Well, Brinson's had a rough go of it at the plate. He's played some great defense for the Marlins, but he's been charged with 5 errors this year, and that easily could have been the 6th. One and 2 to Plawecki. Pitcher spot due up next for the Mets. Dom Smith is out on deck. Jerry Blevins, Tim Peterson, both up in the Mets bullpen. Plawecki takes a 101-mile-an-hour fastball outside. It's 2-2. So Guerrero's leadoff walk comes around to score. Mets have hit 2 balls hard in the inning, Flores and Frazier. Brinson caught one, but not the other. And now 3-2. So Guerrero got ahead on Plawecki 0-2. Now he's run a full count. Frazier at third with 2 out. And Plawecki lays off. Ball 4, throw to third, and hits the runner, goes into left field, and Frazier trots home to score to make it 5-1. Real Muto trying to catch Frazier napping at third, but the throw skips into left field, and the Mets steal another run on the error by Real Muto.
Kind of an unwise thing to do right there from Real Muto. Gift run.
I mean, it wasn't as though Frazier was that far off the bag, and I'm sure that was a design play between Real Muto and Rojas, but he really had no chance to get him, did he?
Nope.
So the Marlins commit their first charged error of the game. Mets have made 3. Meanwhile, Plawecki draws the second walk of the inning from Guerrero. And now Dom Smith will bat for Seth Lugo, win an inning and 2/3 in relief. Smith will get his second plate appearance of the series. He appeared as a pinch hitter on Friday night and grounded out. Plawecki at first with 2 out. And Dom takes a fastball low for ball 1. Smith hitless in his last 10 at bats and has sat each of the last 4 games with the opposition starting a right-hander. Smith said that his wrist has been an issue, that he had a cortisone shot in that wrist last week. Mickey Callaway, though, said the reason Smith has not been playing is that he's been playing his best lineup and that Dom has been fully available. Changeup misses from Guerrero, 2-1. But the Mets will be playing in Toronto their next 2 games, which affords them a chance to use a DH, which will get Smith into the lineup. In the air to right center, and Anderson moves over. And that retires the side, but the Mets cash a couple of gift runs in the 8th inning. 5-1 New York in the 8th. First base after pinch hitting, and Tim Peterson, who's been marvelous in his brief big league career, will come on to pitch.
Absolutely. Right-handers, look at that batting average. That's 0 for 21 right-handers against the young Tim Peterson.
And he'll get a tough right-hand hitter in JT Realmuto to lead off against him. Realmuto 2 for 3 today, 2 singles, but then was struck out on 3 pitches by Matz his last time up. Seth Lugo went an inning and 2/3 in relief. No runs, no hits, a walk, a strikeout. And now Peterson picks it up in the 8th. And Realmuto fouls back the fastball, 1-1. Tim Peterson doesn't throw hard. 90-mile-an-hour fastball, really good split change, which has been a big pitch for him. And so far, so good. 1-2 to Realmuto. 27-year-old from the University of Kentucky. As Anthony Swarzak and Jerry Blevins stay busy behind him. The innings have gotten more and more important, though, for Peterson, as he has proven himself over a 2-week span. And he gets a ground ball foul from Realmuto on the off-speed pitch. 1-2. Tim Peterson, a 20th round draft pick in 2012. And he runs that changeup inside, 2-2. Realmuto just got a piece. Peterson's last outing was against the Pirates. He came in to get the final 2 outs in the 8th, and then was taken out to start the 9th, and that's when Jerry's Familia had his rough outing, and the Pirates rallied for 4 runs in the 9th. Two coming, and Realmuto strikes out on that split change for the first out.
Well, you said it, Gary. That split finger is a bear.
So Peterson gets his first out. Let's check in with Steve.
Well, Gary, we've tried to figure out just why Tim Peterson is having this type of success, especially with that fastball that you noted. He doesn't throw very hard, about 90, 91. It doesn't have a high spin rate or anything like that, yet he gets a lot of swings and misses with it. So I was asking Devin Mesoraco if he notices anything when he catches Peterson, and he said yes, it's the extremely high arm slot. He almost throws directly above his head, as opposed to most guys who throw from that 3/4 slot. The guy that Peterson reminds Mesoraco of is Josh Colmenter. He says not as extreme, but he thinks it really throws hitters off where that ball is coming from, and it gets on them quicker than they expect.
Well, here's the split finger grip, but look again, as Steve just mentioned, the high point of the release over the top. Now, whether, you know, to me, that might be it. I guess Mesoraco would know. He catches him. What this tells me in old-fashioned parlance is that he's sneaky. You don't need to throw 97 to get people out.
Hit deep to center field by Maben. Back goes Nimmo near the wall. It's out of here. Cameron Maben with his first home run of the season in his 187th at bat. And it cuts the Mets lead to 5-2, and Cameron Maben becomes the first right-hand hitter ever to get a hit in the major leagues against Tim Peterson. They have been 0 for 22 before that home run.
First pitch fastball right down the middle. Around belt high, middle.
He's been waiting for that one. tell by his reaction. 10 home runs last year, his first of this season. It's a load off his mind, I'll bet. Justin Bohr is 0 for 3 today. 2 pop-ups and a strikeout, and there's the change from Peterson. It's 0-2. When you say, though, that a pitcher is sneaky fast, Keith, I mean, from a hitter's standpoint, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean he hides it well? Does it mean that his windup is deceptive? What does that mean to a hitter that a pitcher is sneaky fast?
It doesn't necessarily mean that he throws over the top or he throws underhand or he's got a herky-jerky motion. It's hard to define it, Gary. It's your mind's eye up at the plate. Some guys throw 90 and look like they're throwing 96. And some guys throw 97 and they look like they're throwing 90. It's just hard to describe and for me to put a finger on it. Now, guys with herky-jerky motions that hide the ball well, they sneak up on you because there's no rhythm and there's motion. Peterson has a very nice, smooth, rhythmic motion, something that you can get a rhythm on as a hitter. And so somewhere he's pretty straight with his fastball too, Gary. He hasn't got movement.
Well, in that respect, he very much reminds me of Addison Reed, because this is exactly what we always said about Reed. He didn't have great movement on his fastball, and he threw 91 miles an hour, and guys would swing and miss because apparently they either snuck up on him or they didn't see it real well, whatever it was. Peterson appears to be like that.
I always felt that Addison Reed in his short tenure with the Mets, threw harder than what the gun said. It just looked like it was harder to me on TV. I thought he threw harder.
Well, whatever it is, and you know, when you say a guy looks like he's throwing X but he's throwing Y, I mean, is that a matter of arm speed? Is that what your mind's eye perceives because his arm's coming at a certain speed?
It has nothing to do with arm speed, because you can't, pitchers don't want to rush their motion. The whole thing is the pitchers stay back and they try to teach young kids that throw hard when they really rear back and fire not to rush the arm delivery. Keep the same rhythmic point of release and the arm speed. It's just something, Gary, it's hard to describe.
And another strikeout for Peterson as he gets Bohr with a fastball. So that 9-pitch battle ends in Peterson's favor, his second strikeout.
And he's got a split finger too, Gary, which is coming back. There's the fastball right there. Now look at the motion. There's nothing herky-jerky about this. It's coming right over the top. He's not dropping down low. I mean, it's a pretty conventional windup.
Yeah, but you don't see too many guys coming straight over the top anymore, like Jim Bouton or Josh Colment or guys like that. He's
a pretty decent little slider too. So he's got 3 good pitches. Pitches on the first base side of the rubber.
Now facing Lewis Brinson, who's 0 for 2 and a walk, and he lines one down the left field line foul. That's one hopper by the ball boy. 0-2. To Brinson. And just got a piece of that one.
He's got a good split finger, and I'm telling you, the split finger is a wicked pitch, and it gives him a good off-speed pitch. And he has the ability, Gary, to throw that into a right-hand hitter and get it to sink, and that's a hard pitch to hit.
Chopper, Reyes in to field it. Throwing on the move to get Brinson. That retires the side. Maben's home run gets the Marlins a tad closer, but the Mets up 5-2 as we go to the 9th in Miami. All right, gentlemen, now we go to the 9th inning, and Drew Rosinski comes in for the 2nd time in this series.
He pitched in the first game of the series. Had an inning of work, gave up a hit and a strikeout.
Jose Reyes up for the 2nd time, came in a double switch, struck out in the 7th. Nimmo and Bautista to follow for the Mets in the 9th. Dan Straley, the Marlins starter, went 7, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits. Tyrone Guerrero went an inning, 2 runs, 1 earned, 1 hit. Jerry's Familia up in the Mets bullpen. Reyes hits one back through the pitcher, but right there is Riddle to clean up, and he throws out Reyes, 1 away. Let us answer our Verizon trivia question for today. We asked who were the other 4 Marlins managers besides Dan Mattingly who had 1,000 or more career hits.
Is Cookie Rojas in there?
I don't think he managed the Marlins.
Yes,
he did. How about that? And Tony Perez, we forgot he was briefly the manager.
So was Cookie. I think was a very. Cookie managed 1 game.
Oh, come on, guys.
Well, count.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, Gary, just because you didn't get it, stop it. Stop being a sore loser.
Let me ask you a question then, Keith. Who was Salty Parker?
I have no idea.
He was an interim manager of the Mets.
When?
In the 60s.
When in the 60s? Who did he replace?
He replaced Wes Westrom.
Ah. Wes was number 2, right? After
Wes
Casey?
was after Casey, right.
And how long did he last?
Wes? Until Gil was.
Oh, really? He lasted that long?
So he finished 65, 66, 67. And Salty Parker finished 67, and then Gil came in at 68. So if you don't know who Salty Parker is, then why are we supposed to know that Cookie Rojas managed 1 game for the Marlins?
Well, actually, I didn't. Our buddy over here. Our stage manager, Paul Newman, told me, Gary.
The Paul Newman?
Yes. He's got blue eyes, but that's where it stops.
Does he have a brand of salad dressing? Oh, there he is.
Paul. Paul.
That's our Paul Newman.
Paul, photobombing. Get out, Paul. Go.
You have no patience. 2-2 to Nimmo. And that just missed inside. A full count to Brandon, who's 0 for 4 today.
Oh,
poor
gosh.
Paul.
Paul's one of our favorites. We always look forward to seeing. You had dinner with Paul last night.
Did. He got to meet Luke. And Nimmo strikes out for the 2nd time today. What a rough go this series has been for Brandon. He's 1 for 13.
I'll say. Up and in fastball. The swing is getting a little bit too much uppercut.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Bautista, who's 0 for 4 today with a couple of strikeouts. So the top 2 hitters in the Mets order, Nimmo and Bautista, have gone a combined 0 for 9 with 4 strikeouts. And yet the Mets find themselves in front in the 9th. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Marlins will have the lower third of the order coming up. Rojas, Riddle, and the pitcher spot, with Familia again ready for a save chance. Rosinski's 1-2, and Bautista with a half swing, strike 3, inning over. We go to the bottom of the 9th in Miami. Familia on to try to save it. 5-2 New York. Wednesday afternoon in South Florida. Beautiful white sand beach.
Very nice. Wide
Gentle
beaches.
waves. Oh, lovely. People's United Bank brings you today's starters. Steven Matz had to work around a lot of trouble, but didn't give up an earned run in 5 1/3. Dan Straley, not a bad start. 7 innings, 3 runs, 5 hits. Mets with a 5-2 lead as we go to the bottom of the 9th, and Jeurys Familia coming in for the first time since that blown save chance against the Pirates on Wednesday.
And that was a really tough loss. To lose in that way, it's just a tough loss.
Miguel Rojas leads off the last of the 9th. Rojas a double in 3 trips today. And he takes a fastball for a strike from Familia. Well, Familia lately struggling badly. That's since the middle of May. So that's before and after he was on the disabled list with some shoulder discomfort along the way. After a very strong start to the year. But like so many of the Met relievers, he was used so heavily early in the season. You have to wonder whether that had some impact on his performance the last month and a half. Part of the issue with this team right from the beginning, even when they were winning 11 of 12 to start the year, is they played so many close games, both ahead and behind, that the primary relievers got overused early in the season. And at some point those things tend to catch up with you. So playing their 81st game. 43 of the first 80 have been decided by 1 or 2 runs. One-two to Rojas, and it's off the corner. 2-2. J.T. Riddle is on deck, and then the pitcher spot. That's probably Derek Dietrich, who has a bat in his hands. Two coming, and the slider sits inside. 3-2. They're trying to save it for Steven Matz and get him his 4th win of the year. Seth Lugo worked an inning and 2/3, hitless relief. Tim Peterson gave up a home run in his inning of work. Two to Rojas. Struck him out. Familia starts the 9th with a strikeout, 1 away.
Good knee-high outside corner fastball. Paint.
So 1 out now. Riddle, who has had 1 at bat in this game. He pinch hit in the 7th and had a liner to left that Conforto made a nice diving catch on. And he takes a strike from Familia. Mets get a day off tomorrow before starting their series in Toronto Tuesday night. I would imagine when the plane lands in Toronto, there will be Canada Day festivities ongoing. Fly ball out to left. Easier play for Conforto. And that's the 2nd out.
And the only negative is they have to go through customs. You know that going in up to Montreal all those years when I played, it was always a pain in the neck because every bag had to come up.
Well, you hope since it's a holiday that not all the customs people have the day off. That would be bad. It might elongate the process even more. Mets hoping for happy flights if Familia can get 1 more out. Derek Dietrich will be the pinch hitter. Dietrich started the first 2 games of the series, went 1 for 5. 2 out and nobody on last of the 9th, 5-2 New York. And Dietrich watches 1 for a strike, 0-1.
What we used to do, Gary, we knew we'd be in for we'd have to get our luggage, that we'd take a collection. Everybody would chip in 10 or 20 bucks, and the first bag luggage that came out, whoever's it was, won the pot. Just for kicks.
I understand. I'm trying to think of a way to manipulate the result. I mean, it's coming off a charter flight. You give the equipment manager part of the pot.
That would have been Charlie.
Yeah. Just saying.
I never thought of that. I wonder why I never won.
There you go. 1-1 to Dietrich. And a half swing. Did he go? He did. And now the Marlins are down to their final strike. One-two. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. Familia puts on the finishing touches, and after their worst June ever, the Mets are undefeated in the month of July as they beat the Marlins in the final game of the series 5-2.
Well, it also gets them out of the cellar, Gare, and a much needed win. You don't want to come down here and get swept. You never want to get swept anywhere. So we'll see how this shakes up. Off day up to Toronto, 2 games in Toronto, and then a big homestand. Playing a lot of division teams for the All-Star break.
Mets win for just the 9th time in their last 38 games, and happy to shake hands anywhere, anytime. They turn the page to a new month. They get a strong performance from Steven Matz. They get a home run from Asdrubal Cabrera, and the Mets edge past the Marlins in the standings as they defeat Miami today 5-2. Happy flight. Mets head to Toronto with a win. We'll come back with more from Miami in just a moment.